Hello, welcome to Lopez Power Lopez review of Die Hard. Now, Die Hard, it's an interesting thing because I've known the Die Hard franchise for a very long time, but the thing is, okay, so the first Die Hard movie I've seen, I think, was Die Hard with a Vengeance. And then I saw the fourth one, Live Free or Die Hard, when I was 9 years old, and in the theater with my family. And those are the only two Die Hard movies I've really seen for a while until 2013. I'd say 2013. My brother got my dad the six Die Hard movies in one thing, and so, or five Die Hard movies in one thing, and so that's when I saw the first one all the way through, and ever since then I can't stop watching it. I love Die Hard. I watch it a couple times a year since 2013 because it's really I think, a really good action movie. It really is the movie that defined the action genre from the late 80s throughout the 90s. The man who is in a circumstance by being at the wrong place at the wrong time has special training and knows what he's doing. He's usually in a building or area who has to save hostages, who has to stop the bad guy, he's the everyman who's just got a heart of gold and helps save the day. So after Die Hard, a lot of movies copy the Die Hard formula, like Under Siege. Under Siege, Speed, The Rock, Con Air. Just a few examples of what Die Hard 2, how Die Hard really influenced the 90s action. It was made in the late 80s, 1988, but really influenced the 90s action movie. It's just very very groundbreaking because it's kind of the first movie of its time, because in the 80s all the action people were like, Stallone and Schwarzenegger were these big strong guys, and with Die Hard, it's kind of more of the everyman who's the hero. Bruce Willis, not only around, Bruce Willis is not scrawny, he is pretty built, but he's not like steroid built like Stallone or Schwarzenegger. He's not a superhero built. He's got vices. He's a little out of shape. He gets cut easy. He's not really the best fighter, but he always barely, beats the bad guy. So it's kind of a more relatable, grounded hero because he's not a superhero like those other people were. It's kind of interesting because it's such a simple story, but yet it was so groundbreaking in its way of telling an action movie. And it's, all the movies later and later get complicated. And especially to the last one, it doesn't even feel like Die Hard anymore. Renegade Cut, there's this channel called Renegade Cut who do analysis of movies. And they did one of Die Hard, and one of it was titled, like, Everyone's Trying to Be Die Hard Except for Die Hard. And, there's still movies today that's copying the Die Hard formula, like Olympus Has Fallen. And what do you call that? I can't remember, but it's still kind of copying the Die Hard formula, and everyone's trying to be Die Hard except for Die Hard. Because in the fourth one, I actually kind of like the fourth one, but and especially in the fifth one where John McClane's not the everyman anymore. He's flies through explosions of an airplane. He jumps through amazing height and not get injured. It would be better if, like, let's say in that movie, like, let's say the fourth one or fifth one, where he jumps through like hundreds of stories, and he's like all beat up and bloody. I mean, he should have died, but that would still kind of present that he's not this indestructible superhero. Uh, like in like I said, in the first three movies, it's that's how John McCain should be. McClain, sorry, should be. Like a little out of shape, like he was in the third movie. And in the first movie, kind of just kind of smokes and like just gets beat up really badly and just walks over glass, and you can see that he bleeds profusely. You see that he's a real man. He's not a superhero. And I think that's what, especially 4 and 5 kind of get wrong, is McClain isn't supposed to be a superhero. He's the everyman. He's not, you know, Superman. He's not like Avengers level. I don't mind the fourth one. I think the fourth one definitely has its moments, but it's just that, plane scene, and like he just throws cars at people. I mean, he's a superhero. He doesn't have that everyman element to him anymore. The only thing it's kind of becoming a review for the fourth one, but I'll get back to the first one. Only thing in the fourth one that I liked a lot, and it kind of is when he's fighting the kung fu lady, and she just beats him up, and he's just that part kind of has the regular man element to it, but then it's totally lost. But yeah, to the first one, man, I love the first one. Like I said, it's got great action. It's got believable action too. Thing about a lot of action movies is sometimes it's not that believable. With Die Hard, it's so believable because, like I said in my Terminator 2 review, everything's tactile. It's when it's in front of you, when you use real explosions and you crash through real glass, and it's actually Bruce Willis flying and not some CGI guy. It's just so believable. It's really, really believable. I believe it's so much more than a lot of stuff that you see today. John McClane is such an interesting character, and again, reliable character, that him being more real, like I said, makes the action more real. The villains are great. Hans Gruber. Now, I gotta mention this. Alan Rickman just recently passed a couple days ago at the age of 69, and I was really upset because I loved his performances in Die Hard and all Harry Potter movies. His greatest Severus Snape, and it's just a great actor. He just had so much class and character to him. Hans Gruber. And he was like, Hans Gruber's like one of the best villains in movie history. Because he's, again, like I said, he's just so. Well, I didn't say before, but I think I was just remembering what I was saying to a friend. But he's just so laid back. He's so laid back. He just kind of sits there in a suit and kind of governs this thing like it's just like it's his job, like it's a business deal. And he's just, he just knows. He likes to have small talk. It's a lot of things that, and the small talk seems natural. Like a lot of movies where the bad guys try to have small talk, they always talk about this weird story, but with Hans Gruber, he talks about, normal fashion, and he says, oh, when I was a boy, I liked to make models, and he quotes Alexander the Great. It makes him kind of so much more of, like, he just kind of a real bad guy, but kind of a natural bad guy. Like, he's naturally this kind of, laid back and charming. Die Hard, again, has best example of a hero villain element. Hans Gruber is pretty much John McClane's opposite. He really is. John McClane, he's kind of clean shaven. He's kind of going bald. All he has is like a tank top on, and he's wearing white, but he's just kind of a dirty, kind of looking guy. You could tell he's been around the block, and like Hans Gruber, he has this black suit, white black type of thing, but he has this black suit. He's like completely clean. He has a full head of hair, and he's got a beard, and he's pretty much the he's kind of devoid of a sense of humor in a good way, not like acting wise, but like in a good way. He's just kind of just like, and John McClain is the smart aleck cop, so they're just kind of polar opposites, and it's just such a good example of a good guy, bad guy, um, and the relationship is more interesting because they're opposites. Um, so again, the story's about, his wife got a job at this big Japanese company who I think is in trading, and they're in this building in LA, and he's a New York cop who decided to stay in New York because he had, you know, criminals to prosecute. He couldn't just leave, so he had to stay in New York for a while. So he's got invited to a party by his wife's boss. He comes down to LA to the Nakatomi building. Him and his wife get along good at first, but they kind of have a troubled argument. But it turns out that the terrorists have taken over the Nakatomi building because they have millions and like $600 million in their vault that they want. So they're just, terrorists that just wants money. They kind of just pick Nakatomi for its big, revenue. And so that's it's pretty much that. And like I said, it's a simple, John McClain, he kind of escapes the crowd, and he's just kind of wandering the building, whacking off bad guys one by one until he gets to the head honcho and saves the day. And it's, like I said, it's a very simple plot. But the thing is, it's so simple that we get it, and it's got such great characters that we want to see what happens. It's such an interesting movie because it's kind of a thing where less is more. Like, it's very memorable and very likable and interesting movie just because it's so simple. Like the other movies tend to get very complicated again, especially 4 and 5. They're just this big overplayed movies. And even the third one, which, the third one I think is the best of the sequels. Like I said in my review, I think the third one is the one that's closest to the first one. But it's not as good as the first one. But I think the reason why the first one is a little better because, number one, the villain is really good. I like Hans Gruber a lot better than Simon Gruber. And again, the story in that movie was a little complicated, and this one, it's a more simplistic story to grasp and enjoy. So again, I really recommend this movie again. And even the side characters, we have the hero villain, but it's got such memorable side characters like Argyle and the black police chief. I forget his name. Leave in the comment what his name is. Great side character. And all these other side characters that are so memorable. His wife, she has great lines like, "Oh, that guy's really, really mad. That means my husband's still alive." I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much it. And again, a lot of Hans Gruber's henchmen, especially the guy with the blonde mullet. Man, is that guy so rough, man. He's just got this such stern, big roughness to him that he's so memorable by his looks. When he turns, he's like... And in all the Die Hard movies, John McClane has to fight the muscle. Then the first one, it's the big blonde mullet guy that he has to fight, and he always barely wins. The second one, it was the bad guy, the black bad guy on the wing. He fights. He always has to fight the muscle. And then the third one, it's the guy in the suit with the really tall guy. He fights on the boat. He always has to fight the muscle. And so the first Die Hard is just so good because it again starts the trend for the other movies. And but the first one, again, even the side villain is so memorable. He's not Hans Gruber, but he's such a great henchman. Probably one of the best henchmen in movie history. I think his name is Carl. um, yeah, again, even Hans Gruber's like computer nerd hacker is really good. He's like, oh, the quarterback is toast. The thing about this movie is it just has so many memorable lines. Like Yippie Kay, mother blank. I don't want to use cuss words on this channel, so I like to keep it PG. But the line and uh, the you know. Oh, I know what a TV dinner feels like. Come to California, have a few laughs. It's just got so many great lines to it. Oh, memorable lines. Uh, so is there anything I don't like about the movie? Well, nah, I think it's a pretty flawless movie. I mean, I think it's a little. It seems a little. What do you call it? I mean, I forgot my train of thought. Well, it's a little dated in some areas, but other than that, I see no problem with this movie. Again, the characters are so great. Um, John McClain, again, a great protagonist. I'm not sure if I would rank him among the top three greatest protagonists. Like I say, the best protagonists of all time are Marty McFly, Luke Skywalker, and Rocky Balboa. But I think I'd at least rank him in the top 10, because again, he's so relatable because he's the everyman. He's not a superhero. He's not like a Stallone or a Schwarzenegger, or, Predator or Rambo. He's just an average New Yorker Joe who just is not the best at fighting. He's very vulnerable, but just because he has more of those human aspects to him, he has vices, it's more of a relatable character, and you never see that in a lot of movies today. Even the movies that copy Die Hard, like no, not White House Down. That's another movie. Olympus Has Fallen, which I really like, but the character isn't as good as John McClane in that movie because he's like a really fast martial artist, and he's kind of indestructible. He's the Navy SEAL. It's not quite as relatable or memorable because he's not as human as John McClane was. Um, Again, the villain just has so much class. Hans Gruber, again, Alan Rickman, may he rest in peace. He was just such a classy villain. Very charming villain. Uh, and another thing I like to mention about this movie, which it's with the first two movies, but it kind of went a different direction with the other movies, and again with the third one. The thing about Die Hard 3 is that's the movie that kind of broke away from the formula. Even though I really like Die Hard 3, I think it's the best out of the sequels. I think it's the closest to the first one. I think the first one is still barely better than the third one. But you see a lot of the things that strayed away from the Die Hard movies with the third one. And one of them was that he's a side. He has to have a sidekick. And don't get me wrong, I love Zeus Carver, but in the other ones he has the Mac, the old early 2000s Mac computer guy commercial. And then he has the son in the fifth one. It's what was so memorable about the first one is he was alone. I mean, yeah, he had the black police guy. I keep forgetting his name. I can't remember his name. And Argyle, he has those sidekicks, but he mostly does it alone. He fixes this pretty much himself. The police just kind of get in the way almost, but he kind of does this himself. He goes through this himself, and we go on the journey along with him, and thus it makes the chances higher, and we're like more on the edge of our seat because he's just a one-man army. Um, and so. I think if they do make another Die Hard movie, I heard that they were. They're not. I've heard some ideas that there's going to be a sequel, there's going to be a prequel, but if they do go anyway, I think they should go back to the formula of the first one, where he's all alone and he's in a contained area. He's not just wandering throughout the entire state. He's in a contained area fighting terrorists one by one on his own. Wrong place at the wrong time type of situation. Because it's just so much funner that way. Again, I don't know what they're gonna do with Die Hard 5. Bruce Willis, he's not that motivated with action movies anymore. He always kind of has that tired look on his face, and he doesn't have that high. I mean, I know he's old, but I just saw Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and you see Harrison Ford in that movie caring and giving a hoot about having that fast-paced energy to make the audience care. And when your actor is kind of like, it just doesn't make us care. With the later Bruce Willis movies, and he should have that high energy that he had in the first 3 movies. Die Hard 4 and 5. 4 I really like. 5 I don't think is completely terrible, but I just think it's kind of bland. The 4 and 5 aren't great movies. I think 1, 2, and 3 are the definitive Die Hard movies. That is the Die Hard trilogy. Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, and Die Hard with a Vengeance are the 3 Die Hard movies I recommend. If you haven't seen any of them, just watch Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, and Die Hard 3. Those are the great movies. In my opinion, 4 and 5 are just kind of what ifs. But I think like a what if scenario, not necessarily canon, whereas Die Hard 1, 2, and 3 are the true Die Hard movies. Those are the true Die Hard trilogy. And if you have to see any of them, I would say pick the first one, because the first one has great action, great characters, great character moments that that's the one I recommend seeing the most out of even the 3 good ones. Die Hard 1. So it's just called Die Hard, but it's just such a great movie. Better to watch it than listen to me talk about it anymore. So I give it about a 10 out of 10. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I give it a 10 out of 10, a 4 out of 4, an A+. It's just such a great movie. I do recommend it. I will do a review of Die Hard 2 in a little while, maybe in a couple days to a week. It depends on my motivational thought process for the movie. But I'll see you next review. Take care. God bless you. See you next review. Rest in peace, Alan Rickman. You played one of the greatest movie villains of all time. Props to you, man. So, see you next review.